Welcome to the Property Profits Real Estate Podcast, the show where real estate investors talk strategy, capital, deals, and growth with your host, Dave Dubeau.
Well, for a long time, industrial real estate was kind of the ugly duckling asset in real estate investing. Well, that isn't the case anymore. Industrial has become very, very, very popular, especially over the last number of years when multifamily has taken a bit of a kicking and other asset classes aren't doing so well. And today, our special guest zooming in from Florida is David Murphy. And he definitely knows a thing or two or three or 12 about industrial real estate. He's been, elbows up in this stuff for close to 30 years. He's helped people transact billions and billions of dollars of industrial real estate transactions, buying, selling, leasing, you name it. He knows a thing or two about industrial. So, David, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thank you. I enjoy the opportunity to be a part of this. So thanks for having me.
Hey, man. So I kind of gave a short intro there, but maybe you can fill in the blanks. Tell us a little bit about what exactly do you do? What is this beautiful thing called industrial real estate? Give us the overview, if you would, David.
Absolutely. So I'm the dock high guy on social media. And when I'm involved, I always say if a truck pulls up to it, that's what I'm doing. And so it can be a warehouse facility, manufacturing. And, I got into this business about 28 years ago, and it's been an amazing journey. But as you said, it was not the belle of the ball in the first 20 out of those 28 years. So it's taken a little time for
there's
us
some massive persistence going on there, man.
Massive persistence. Like at some point, this is going to be good. Just stay with it. And we used to joke. I started in 1998 with then was CB Commercial, the precursor to CBRE. And we never had rental comps. So for your listeners, when people are going to buy or invest in industrial real estate, you want to know what the lease comps are, the lease comparables. You want to, so you make sure
pretty much any kind of real estate, you want an idea of what the comps are. Yeah,
you want the comps. Yeah. So we never kept lease comps because the rate was $375 a foot, and it just never changed for 10 years. It was flat. So we didn't have to keep updated lease comps. It was, well, what's the rate? Well, $375. And so clearly things have changed today. And some of that was driven obviously by the pandemic and how the supply chain shifted. A lot of it had to do with e-commerce and just the way people are delivering product today. So
the Amazons of the world.
Oh my goodness. Really about 2014, 2015, when they started coming into our market in a big way. And you heard this terminology of a 2-week delivery time get compressed down to a 2-day delivery time. And now it's a 2-hour delivery time. And if you think about that, you have to get product closer to the consumer. And Florida was always, we're in a peninsula, we're hard to distribute to. So
you get an occasional thing called a hurricane.
Yeah, just all kinds of difficulty getting product in and out of here. And then we don't make a lot of product. So we always say the trucks are going faster northbound coming out of Florida because they're all empty, right? We don't bring a lot of product back out of the state. And so we're a tricky state to distribute to. And a lot of it was done from Atlanta. For most of my career, Atlanta was the hub. And then you'd have these little spokes in Florida. And today, getting product to consumers in that 2-day to 2-hour period, you have to have the goods in the state.
So is that kind of the majority of what you're looking at these days? Are those kind of properties?
Yeah, we do. Wow. Now, the way our team's set up, we have 3 verticals. So we do property sales. We represent landlords. Our team represents about 15 million square feet of industrial product that we landlord lease. And then we have a pretty robust tenant rep practice as well. So we run all 3 of those verticals.
Sorry, what was the last one?
Tenant representation. So we'll have people on the landlord side, people on the tenant side, people on the sales side. So we take the process all the way through. We help developers go find land. We help them underwrite it. Right. The biggest part today, and I'm sure your listeners feel this way as well, is having the underwriting process. People are taking a much harder look at these assets than they were a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And so, getting back to our discussion on the lease comps, people need current lease comps. And the biggest problem you have is if you go out into kind of the tertiary markets of Florida and you don't have a lot of good lease comps, it's hard when you go to your equity and your debt and say, hey, I want to do this new spec project and it looks good. You talk to all the brokers say, yeah, this looks great. Then you go to put money on it and they want to see lease comps and they want to see sale comps. And so it's a much more discerning investment market than it was even a couple of years ago.
So you're talking about 375 a square foot, kind of stuck at that for 10 years. What does that look like now? What are the comps looking like these days?
Yeah, you're looking at rates $10 on your $10 to $12 on your 100 to 150,000 square foot space. Getting down into the smaller bay product, and small bay for me is probably 20 to 30,000 square feet. That can creep up into the $14 to $16 triple net range in our market. And again, every market's going to be different, but the common theme is we had massive rent growth from COVID era to about 2024. And it's been amazing how much that the rents have grown. Property values have followed suit, right? Because if your lease rates are going up, your property values are going up. And it's been a lot for the end user who's leasing that space. And a lot of times you're dealing with a smaller, not a public company, but a private company. And you're taking a fair amount of their profit from their business because they were used to paying that lower lease rate for a long period of time. So we have a fair amount of difficult discussions with tenants today, especially if we're renewing their 10-year deal. And a lot of times on these leases, they'll have a contract rent escalation, right? And that may be 3%. But their rent might have gone up by double or triple what they started paying. And when you come time for renewal and you tell them what the new rate's going to be, there's a lot of sticker shock out there even today.
I would imagine. So, David, a lot of people watching or listening to this show are more on the mom and pop side of things. There is a lot of interest in getting involved in industrial. If somebody's got a portfolio of single family homes or they've got a couple of small multis or they're not a huge conglomerate, but they're looking at kind of getting into maybe a small bay industrial property. What recommendations would you have for them? Number one, for what kind of properties to kind of look for? Number two, not all brokers are created equal. So based on 30 years of experience, not everybody's in Florida. So if they're looking out in, Michigan or somewhere that you guys don't operate, what should they be looking for in a broker to help them?
Well, I think you want somebody that has a lot of experience in that property type. If you're looking at small bay warehouse, maybe finding somebody that focuses on the smaller deals and has experience with those and selling those. You really need somebody that knows. Industrial is deceptively simple. I mean, people look at me and they're like, well, if that guy can do it, anyone can do it, right? And
28 years later, you make it a little easy, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that in industrial, there's a lot going on. I know it's just a box, but how's the ingress and egress to that property? Okay. What's your ceiling height look like? How many loading doors do you have? What's your column spacing? What's your truck court depth? These are things that when you go from one asset type, as you mentioned, small residential or have a little retail strip center, and now you want to go into industrial, you really need to know the ins and outs of what makes the functional utility of that space. Right. And so does it have the right amount of power? How's the building laid out? Is it a building that has a lot of site coverage where you've got a building on a small site and then you can't get the trucks to park properly and things? There's so many things that go into it. And so highly recommend for somebody that's just starting out, find a professional that's in your market and understands the nuances of those buildings, because if there's a functional obsolescence with that building, it can be tough to lease.
Hey there, if you're a capital raiser, a syndicator, or a fund manager, and you're looking for a steady flow of incoming accredited investor leads, then go ahead, grab a free copy of my new book, How to Get 20 Accredited Investor Meetings Every Month Without Cold Calling, Networking, or Chasing People. You can get that at 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. Again, that's the number 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com.
Yeah.
And you make money. And from an investment standpoint, I always say you make money when you buy the asset, not when you sell it. So you want to buy appropriately and make sure that above just the deferred maintenance and the things that you would look for on any asset type, make sure that building has good functional utility in it. Really important for industrial.
All right. And for that mom and pop looking at getting into this, what would you recommend as like a first kind of industrial property to be looking for?
The small 5 to 15,000 square foot building with one or two tenants is kind of ideal. Now, I will share with you that's also in very high demand right now because it's kind of a bite-sized deal that you can go in and from your mom and pop terminology, you can find you can do those deals right on your own. I would say the larger spaces are the ones that, that's kind of another level of difficulty. I wouldn't go out and buy a couple 100,000 square foot empty building right off the, I would probably work up to that. I love the small bay space. I know a lot of people talk about the small, I think of small bay as multifamily for industrial, right? You've got, let's call them 1,000 to 2,500 square foot units. You can lease them out for a year. Don't have renewal clauses in them, so it's kind of an apartment and concept where you're leasing them out. Now that's
Are you still doing triple net on those kind of property leases?
Yeah, you still do. You run it triple net, and you can do leases that are short term. You can do them for 3 years, 5 years. Try to put rental escalations in those leases, right, to keep the rent going. But that would be what I tell a lot of first time investors. The small bay, but again, you got to make sure that the market supports what's there, right? Just because it's small bay doesn't mean it's guaranteed to work, even though it seems like when you look online and in TikTok and all the, everybody's doing a car wash or they're doing small bay warehouse, right? It's
right.
Amazing how I get 2 to 3 calls a day, every day, from somebody looking to invest money in a small bay warehouse deal. So the biggest thing is trying to source those. That's where, if you know the market yourself, great. If not, find somebody and make friends with the broker that is active in that category, and try to find some off market deals or try to find deals that just hit the market and jump on them quick if it's the right deal for you. So that's what I would recommend to get started. And a lot of times you can also find a little building that has a tenant in place, right? So you don't have to try to go through the lease up process. So I like those, but again, you kind of just because it's a hot asset class doesn't mean it doesn't have an issue or isn't a good buy. You have to make sure that you do your due diligence for sure.
For sure, most definitely. So David, what would you say? I love stories. So maybe what's your favorite deal story from the last 2 or 3 years that you guys have done? Doesn't have to be small bay, whatever. Like when I say, what's your favorite deal? Which one pops into your mind?
I like the one with the highest gross commission income. That is my favorite. Those are my favorite.
But paint me a little bit more of a picture there. So what's your favorite deal recently? What did that one look like?
So we've had, I'll give you 2. We've had 2 deals where the property, we put it on the market, it didn't sell. We took it off the market, waited a couple years.
What kind of a property was it?
This is let's say a 30,000 square foot industrial building outside of the greater Orlando market, just a small, relatively mom and pop building. Okay. And didn't sell it, waited a couple years, put it back on the market and sold. Another deal is land. We do a lot of land deals. Land deals can be tough. And we had a really nice land deal, but it took 2 or 3 times because we had speculative developers that were trying to buy the building, underwrite it, and then close on it. And underwriting was really tough. So we went through a couple of different buyers till we found somebody to close. And then the group that closed on it did great with the project. So
it already had a building on it? It wasn't just raw land then?
Just raw land. Yeah, there were raw land,
okay.
And they had to take it through the site plan approval process to get it done. And what I loved is my clients stuck with me, and they knew it was hard, and they didn't just get rid of me after the first time. I always say, if you give me 2 or 3 times to get it done, I'll get it done. And it took a couple times where we had false starts, where either the developer couldn't get their financing in place, or the market kind of slowed down a little bit. We've had a lot of headwinds, right? I mean, for those small investors, this has not been an easy 12 to 18 month period, right? You've had uncertainty with the tariffs. You've had different, issues with interest rates and other things. There's been challenges out there, and yet the industrial market has been very resilient through all this.
No, that's great. So speaking of challenges and whatnot, what are you most excited about looking down the next 12 to 18 months? Where do you see things going, especially in Florida for industrial?
I see a lot of the larger deals coming back in. So these are bulk deals in the 500,000 to 1 million square foot plus range. Last year at this time, there were 7 buildings of 1 million square feet or larger in Florida sitting empty. Wow. Can you imagine that's a difficult situation for those investors that were sitting on empty buildings? Today, they're all gone. Every one of them either leased or sold to a user or leased up.
Who's buying 1 million square foot building?
You've
Elon.
got
Elon, Amazon.
Basically, there's companies that buy. And it seems like there's been a push on the owner user side to acquire.
Oh, okay.
And so what's nice is for the folks that are listening to this that are more on the investment side, it gives you a backup option. If you can't get your building leased, know that there's also this user market that's behind you, that if you wanted to just sell and get out of your deal because it's not leasing up, we're seeing more of those owner users come into the market, and sometimes they're pricing them higher than the investors. So it's a two-edged sword. On one side, you've got a safety blanket, so to speak. If your building's not leasing, hey, maybe there's a user out there that'll buy it. Yep. The challenge for the folks listening to this is you've also got a competitive group that's trying to buy your investment property. And if there's no tenant in it, you're going to have to deal with owner users coming in, pricing those buildings up.
Yeah. No, definitely makes sense. All right, David. Well, this has been great. Who are you looking to connect with these days?
I just, I'm at the point in my career where I love helping out young brokers trying to be successful in the market. Anyone that's trying to invest in the industrial space, I'm here to help. I'm a resource. And I love industrial real estate. If somebody that's listening to this wants to talk industrial real estate in the Florida market, I'm easy to find. You can find me on LinkedIn. The Doc High guy on LinkedIn, I think, is how you'd find me. And happy to answer any messages. I get a fair amount of messages on my LinkedIn from folks, and I try to answer as many as I can. So, I just enjoy the industrial market's been really great to me for my career, and I'm at the point where I just like to give back a little bit.
Awesome, David. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. This was fun. Thanks.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Property Profits Podcast. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, apply at daveinterviews.com.